Do you hear that?
Kyrie Cleveland! I can't believe what I just saw! That pile!
Do you see that? Do you taste that? These are all the different senses of what is to come in 50 days. Because in 50 days, the 2018 college football season will commence. Every college kid, every college football fan, this is what we live for at this time of the year. I'm just so hyped about what is going to come of this college football season because of also everything that's been happening between the lines as well. Fromm broke his hand. You have all these different prospects, you know, committing to Michigan and committing to Florida State and all these other big schools as well. Just all the business moves that all of these head coaches are making. But what's the most thing that we're hyped about whenever it comes to college football? The matchups. So what I did was I took some time and I actually did some research on, you know, which matchups stuck up to me throughout this entire college football season. And unfortunately for this video, I could only pick 10. For now, this is going to be my opinion and I'm going to give you guys the top 10 potential matchups in the college football 2018 season. Coming up at number 10, we have USC versus Texas in week 3. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this entire matchup that's going to happen. This rivalry is renewed. I think you guys remember this past year we had this rivalry. Matthew McConaughey was on the sidelines. It went into overtime. Sam Darnold was doing his thing. And for a while we thought Texas was gonna be back, just like Joe Tessitore said. But that's not to say that Tom Herman does not have something up his sleeve for this year. I fully believe potential to be a great team this year, as they always do for every season. You know, they have the people right there and they have all the right places in check. It's up to the coaches and it's up to the players to show up every Saturday. And especially for this game, where USC is going to have some battles of their own. I remember telling you guys in an earlier video that Matt Fink and JT Daniels and a couple other quarterbacks were going to be playing for the starting position. And this position is going to be the one that replaces Sam Darnold. So to see that, and also them rebuilding their secondary, and you know, them putting in a lot of valuable spots that they lost due to the NFL draft, it's really exciting to see what's going to happen. Coming in at number 9, we have TCU versus Ohio State. And I gotta say, for TCU, they have probably one of the strongest schedules in college football for this year. Just looking at them taking on Ohio State and Oklahoma and a bunch of other big name teams as well. And they had such a good run last year. I think they finished at 11-3, I think, losing to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. But Ohio State, they're doing pretty good too. They are probably one of the top 5 teams to be going back to the college football playoff, if not the Big Ten championship. So you already know Ohio State needs no introduction. Urban Meyer is doing his thing over there. But for TCU, I think they got themselves to prove. And speaking of TCU, they're actually here at number 8 as well, versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma, we already know, with Baker Mayfield being gone, he led them to the college football playoff, and you know, they had a pretty good run this past year. I'm pretty confident to say that Oklahoma versus TCU will be nothing short of a good competitive game. They played each other twice last year in the regular season and in the Big 12 championship. You know, Baker Mayfield, the playmaker that he was able to outscore TCU. Defense was able to give that extra stop and, you know, force those extra turnovers to where they left TCU in the dust. But for this year, the entire thing is probably switched around. You have a lot of good prospects coming in to play for TCU this year. And for Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield is gone and a good few receivers are gone. They had some good young guys that were playing at receiver and playing at secondary this past year. But those vital positions, we're going to have to see who wants to step up, who is going to continue the tradition, be a boomer soon. Coming in at number 7, we have LSU versus Miami. And obviously, we already know this has no introduction. We have the U versus the Tigers, the ACC versus the SEC. And this is actually going to be for the season opener. We already know that Miami came up short in their bowl game and also in the ACC championship. They got that butt whooped. Coming up to the end of the season, Miami did not show up and they ended up losing. And for LSU, while they did go to a bowl game, LSU losing to Troy and losing to a couple other teams, it was equally as disappointing. This game, this is the season opener. This is what we're going to see on college football weekend. I really think that this is going to be one of those matchups that sort of sets the tone for who is going to battle Clemson in the ACC, or even battle Alabama in the SEC as well. At number 6, we have Stanford versus Oregon. Oh, it's a good old Pac-12 showdown. Believe it or not, Stanford is a huge underdog in this game. Oregon has some really good recruits. Stanford has a Heisman candidate on their team, and that candidate is none other than Bryce Love. But then on the Oregon side, they also have a good running back by the name of Jamal Elliott. He's pretty quick on his feet. At number 5, you have Michigan versus Notre Dame in week 1. Once again, this is another season opener. Michigan and Notre Dame, which is a very, very classic showdown that I've been waiting to see. Michigan has Jim Harbaugh, and while he's made a couple of staff changes throughout this entire season, we had quarterback trouble coming into Michigan in the first few games of the season. But with Shea Patterson being a QB, I really think that he could be a solid spot, like the person that just starts indefinitely. But then nevertheless, Brandon Wimbush is going to keep his legacy. He is going to get his in as well. And at number 4, I know you haven't heard their names yet, but obviously it's going to be Clemson versus Texas A&M. And you know, at first when I saw this on Clemson's schedule, I was really overlooking it because it's Texas A&M. They weren't really good this past year. But with this one, you have to take into consideration that Jimbo Fisher is now the Texas A&M head coach. And Dabo Swinney is going to go all the way to College Station, right in Jimbo's backyard. And right when Jimbo thought that he could escape from Dabo Swinney. Obviously, Clemson has been very dominant with that defensive line. I personally don't think that they'll have a problem. But since it's Jimbo's team, he has a good reputation for having a solid team whenever it comes to this rivalry. It's not Florida State, but it's a good game that I would like to see nonetheless. Number 3, we have one of the upcoming rivalries that wasn't really noted as a rivalry until these past 10 years. That is Penn State versus Ohio State. But you gotta look at the matchup. Penn State, Saquon Barkley is gone. They're still a good team. Ohio State, we already know with Dwayne Haskins, with Tate Martell, and their entire QB battle. These two teams have always just made every game so close. Starting from 2016 when Penn State was able to upset Ohio State. In 2017, JT Barrett was going to be a game changer and upset Penn State, especially when Saquon Barkley was playing one of the best games of his life. All in all, I'm really hyped for this matchup. Not just because it's an upcoming rivalry, but both of these teams have the ability and have the chance to be in the college football playoff this year. And at number 2, we've got to bring in some good SEC action. Georgia versus South Carolina. Even though they lost to Clemson, South Carolina snuck themselves into the top 25 college football polls. Will Muschamp didn't really do that good back in 2016. Coming into 2017, he didn't go like 9-3. But, you know, he went a good 8-4. He was able to defeat Michigan in the Outback Bowl. Just like old times, eh? Georgia, on the other hand, Jake Fromm has a broken hand right now. It's not his throwing hand, but it's still a broken hand, so let's imply that he's injured, right? Obviously, Eason is transferred, but that just leaves my good old friend Justin Fields to come in and start balling. Now, don't get me wrong, Jake Bentley's a veteran. He knows how to make plays and everything. I think that if he doesn't make any freshman mistakes, this could possibly be a blowout, just like last year. But South Carolina has shown a lot of promise in the offseason, and I really don't think that they're going to give Georgia that opportunity. And I think that this could possibly be a game that's decided by a point margin of 5. And the matchup that everybody has been waiting for. This is going to be the matchup that decides what the best game of college football 2018. And number 1 is, drumroll please, Alabama's entire schedule. Yes, I know it's not one matchup, and I know this sounds completely illogical. You're like, the frick is this kid saying? He's just an Alabama fan. But if you didn't see last year, like, everybody was hoping. They were hoping that the next team that Alabama was going to play would upset Alabama. It happened with freaking Mercer. But I did see some Georgia fans. They were cheering on Auburn to beat Alabama. I'm just saying. Alabama won the national championship earlier this year. It's lonely being at the top, except for when people try and come and knock you off. Whoever's going to play Alabama, whether it be Auburn or Mississippi State or Ole Miss or any of those teams, these teams are out for blood. And once Alabama loses, it's going to be the road to #1 for everybody else. Anyways, that's about it for me today. Really hope you guys like these matchups. I'm really hyped to see what's going to happen in college football. And honestly, I'm ready.